Perfect. Welcome to GritMeetsGrowth. Today we are joined by Daniel Rodgers of Wellness Heaven Massage. Um, they take a holistic approach to healing while society has long relied on Western medicine. Daniel and his team really respects the expertise, um, really respect the expertise of medical doctors. They encourage exploring whether it's always necessary uh, as a sole option. We're really excited to hear Daniel's story and his insights. So, welcome, Daniel. Thanks a lot for accepting the invite and agreeing to do this.
Awesome. Well,
Perfect.
thank you. Yeah, aloha, Manav, and aloha world. Thank you for having me, Manav, today.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, then we'll just deep dive in and we'll start with the first question, which is when you started with this line of business, right? Like, how did you, like, out of everything else, how did you decide that you want to do this and how did you choose this as a line of business that you want to do?
Well, I'm gonna go to back when growing up in my childhood home. Actually, I'm originally from the island of Hawaii, which is the Big Island. And growing up in my childhood home, my parents they were very hippie, but in a great way, because they would actually take any type of sickness and try to help it using no Western medicine. So alternatively, um, something that we had on our farm was a lot of like uh, fruits, and we also had different types of herbs on the farm. And I mean, they would take these fruits and they would put herbs together and literally make it so like we could help our sore throat during times when our it's colder season or the sinuses is acting up. I mean, just something as simple as that, and that can be really helpful. And also my mom. Well, one thing, I was born underwater. I was one of the first few babies that was born underwater. And actually, my mom is a documentary of it. It's actually pretty amazing. So I was a water birth baby, me, my brother, and my sister. And that whole holistic right there is really big. My mom actually did a lot of uh, uh, going down to the hot ponds on the Big Island. She actually did a lot of breathing stuff with her during my pregnancy, and then also she helped other moms. So she's just really genuinely and caring of how to help someone at the most natural way as possible, and that's what she brought on to me. Uh, Also, I'm really happy and excited that we've been affiliated with a company called Melaleuca, the wellness company, and they've been around for 30 plus years. They're actually located in Idaho, and we use all their products in our practice. But I grew up with all those products too, from a early teenage, like probably like 12 years old. My mom's been with them for a long time. Um, and so those products are all non-paraben, non-toxins, no chemicals, and we use that in our household. And it's a sad thing because in society, not just the Western medicine of the health, but in the stores, you go to the store and you pick up this product on the shelf, say Tide, say Downy, say other stuff, like that. All these products, unfortunately, they can cause some really bad things within our body. The internal side, actually, and the internal side is a huge thing about our body that a lot of people forget. And so, something that's really important is like just like a spray, like any type of spray you use, or at your home. You want to use as most organic as possible or natural. I mean, I know some people that just use vinegar and water and they just use that, and maybe aroma or something. That's would be the best thing, because what that spray does, it's the same similarity of smoking a pack of cigarettes for your lungs. It's really sad. So it can just hurt you over time. So basically that's a really big thing is how I got started into just being into massage therapy. That's a whole nother story. I can go about that now. Sorry, I went
Sure.
on a little tangent, but it's a really important
Yeah.
story to start.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're gonna go about like talking about that as well.
So let's talk about more about so how I got into what I do is when I was in my early age years, my actually parents would go to chiropractic care. They would also do see very like not acupuncture that much, but acupressure type of people, you know, like really subtle work. Because the thing about our bodies is that when we are having a lot of stress, just stress in general, we don't want, it's actually not going to be the best for your body to get a bunch of pushing on things, because that can actually cause more stress and actually can cause more problems within our nervous system and our nerves itself. And that's a big thing about what I do now. But what I want to go into is when I went to massage school in 2016 in Oahu, Kapilani Community College Massage Therapy Program, I went right into the aspect of the longevity of what massage can do, and more of a therapeutic way. That was always really what I went into, and really learning about the science behind everything, because I always loved science throughout my middle school, high school. It was always a big thing to me, science. And so going to massage therapy school, I went and learned about the anatomy, the physiology, the even some nutritional stuff. The really amazing thing is that Kapi'olani Community College Massage Therapy Program is the #1 program in the state of Hawaii, though, because the way they teach you and the way that they have, they really go through a lot of the science of it, not just the general of what massage can do, because, and then they also they give you 7 different specialties that you learn while you're doing the course. And it's a really amazing program. A lot of schools in Hawaii, you have to go, you do a course, or you do a massage therapy program. I heard it's sometimes even only like 6 months, and it's just generalized. You still have to do that continuing education, of what you kind of want and what you're fine, what your purpose is. Because in massage school, they teach you this. They teach you, get everyone on your table, get everyone with a pulse. That's so not true. Not everyone on your table is going to be the right fit for you. Just like any other profession out there, not every person's going to have like the right, or going to fit with the same electrician. Not every person is going to fit with the same yard person, you know? So, going into 7 specialties right with the school, that really helped me a lot. I'm going to go over those 7 specialties, because this is where I'm going to start defining on where my niche and how my niche started. 7 specialties that I was learning was, that I got to learn in massage school was sports massage, trigger point therapy, shiatsu, lomi. Lomi is a big one here in Hawaii. Sports massage. I think I said sports, but sorry. Pregnancy, reflexology, and then massage for cancer and geriatric. Which
Okay.
that's a big part of learning about these different modalities, they call it, but they're really demographics and where you are going to go if you really think of and you go in detail. So going in from 7 specialties, I went more towards the shiatsu, actually, which comes from acupressure and the meridians, and that's a big part of my practice. And I also was really in tuned with sports and trigger point together, not just sports and not just trigger point, because trigger point is something that, again, it's not just about deep. It's about the fascia, and it's really about the fascia and how you go about with working with the fascia, and it's about progression. Those two are really big, and then also reflexology, which is amazing too, for both hands and feet, and then massage for cancer and geriatric as well, were all the different ones that I really where I really was more drawn towards. So going from going to massage school, I went right into entrepreneurship. This is also one thing that I did really well. In my internship, we had to do, you have to do an intern where you do like 60-minute appointments and you do 90-minute appointments, and you start learning about how to do like two, or 2 with like 15, 20-minute back to back. You start actually learning about how to go and incorporate what you learned into those internships. And you're also learning about certain, the last bit of the specialties, actually, which is awesome. So it's really great the way they academically put the criteria together. That was really amazing. Now, I always was entrepreneur. I would literally, they teach you this where you have to go out and get your own clients, and they come in and they experience your work, and then you have to be that professional of, there's some stuff in here. If you come back in a week, we can get a little bit more on this side, and you learn about that. So that's always a big part of me. I remember in an internship, I had a guy, it was amazing. I didn't even do what I did now to the intuitiveness, but he came in and he's like, my neck has been having this chronic pain in here for a long time, and I helped him within that one session, and he was like, wow, I can literally feel a lot more in my neck. I'm like, this is amazing. I said, yes, but remember, this is just the start. It's not about this one session. I only saw maybe one or two times more. And unfortunately, after that, the internship stops. I did some house calls. Yes, that was great to learn, and going to people's homes. But it's not the right environment for me. And I'll talk more about why. Now, then I went and I learned and I worked for different like places like Massage Envy and different places like some therapeutic and spa kind of places, just kind of getting myself understanding of now being a licensed massage therapist, okay. Learned a lot about business. Learned about what business owners were doing the right thing, what business owners weren't doing the right thing. So putting all this into play, then I went straight into clinical. After I was done with working with more of like okay, you see that person one time and bye-bye, and you don't get to check with them and see how they're doing with progression work. I went straight into clinical, and I worked with people in motor vehicle accidents and workman comp injuries. Now, this is a big thing about clinical. Clinical is so important to be there as an active listener, really listening about what that client is coming in for, not just what on the intake form is, but that person when they're coming in. Because what's on the intake form could be different from when they're coming in. And this is where the holistic side comes in. Now, working in clinical, I'm working directly with the doctors that prescribe this intake form to the clinic, and learning about their history of, yes, this motor vehicle accident just happened. That's going to cause strain. That's going to cause, a lot of lockup, a lot of stiffness. But learning about their history of what they have had before, that's where clinical happens really great. You really discover what's going on, or what that client has had in little milestones, I call it. And in the progression of, say, someone comes in with a really bad whiplash, but then they had a history that they had, unfortunately, they have high blood pressure, one thing, but they also have a history that they had a fall and hurt their knee a long time ago doing sports, maybe, and they didn't really do too much to do anything about it because they're in their 20s, they're in their 25s. They think, oh yeah, I'm in my 20 25s, it's okay. But let me tell you, when you allow injuries that happen from when you're even 15 to say 25, 30s to just kind of not do anything about it, that can cause actually more problems within the four major systems of the body, which I'm going to talk more about the craniosacral soon. And it causes a strain and a sprain, multiple sprains in different points. A strain, which is more acute, but a sprain is even more chronic. So when you have these different things that happen and you have a car accident, well, then your body is actually going to go even in more shock. So how do you go about this? You actually want to work with that person on just really subtle work. You're not going to just dig into these points that the car accident happened. You're actually going to be working in relationship to that car accident in the first, and actually in most of the appointments, and then you're going to start working on progression of getting them out of that, where they get that full range of motion, that mobility. They're getting they're actually getting, posture is a huge thing, but it's not all about that. But a big thing is their gait. If their gait is getting corrected more and more, that's going to help all the systems. So now, what I wanted to mention is going from the clinical base, learning about motor vehicle accident, and then workman comp injuries too. That's a big thing too that I learned. I also worked with some older people that came in that were just there for work injuries. Well, what's going to happen with older people? Fortunately, the Society of Western Medicine, we're going to be getting all this medication throughout the years and years. Fortunately, going back to cleaning products and different products in there, non-toxic products, the skin is our number one organ. That's one thing that I always try to educate my clients, that clients forget. But whatever you put on that skin goes in your body. Unfortunately, all this stuff is going to cause cellular deficiency, oxidation stress, and all kinds of different parts of each system to start decreasing within the proper way that your body should be. And you're going to get your mind maybe there, but your body's out of sync. Or maybe your body's there, but your mind's out of sync. So going straight from the clinical practice, I was so fortunate. When I worked there, I didn't only work motor vehicle and workman comp. I actually had some clients that came in. The place that I worked for used insurance or took insurance. And not saying anything that's bad about insurance, but I learned that insurance clients are not really going to take care of themselves that much because it's the value of what they're only paying for. Now, if someone's coming in, they're paying $150 and they're coming in for a session, they're going to be there and they're going to be committed because they want to help themselves. So workwear insurance was something I learned. And, yes and no, there's some pros and cons, but working there with clients that actually use their insurance, but after that insurance was gone, I had a few clients that just paid cash. And I was like, wow, I'm doing something right. They're paying me cash. I had other clients that were paying me cash for the session. And then I'm giving half to the owner, half to me. And just doing this, and these clients just being, my consistent clients, like every 2-3 weeks they would come and they were paying cash. I had some clients say, you're ready to go on your own. You should go, you ready to go on your own. So anyways, this is how I found my whole practice, I had someone come into the practice. They're like, oh, would you be interested in doing a trade for a website? Because I was like, oh yeah, I'm looking to get a website together, and I'm also looking for a space. So she actually got me introduced to the place where I started my first space, where I shared a space with a chiropractor and some other people, and that was my own little, kind of like a little trailer, like a startup of like a food truck, but in a space. So going in there and then started my practice, still working part-time with this other place and then working part-time at my practice. And this was actually during almost like the pandemic was coming out of, so it was kind of really crazy at the same time. And I also had my first kid. And so basically from that transitioning, basically I had some clients of mine, two of my clients still, they followed me to go and be in my practice. I'm very blessed on that. And and I still see them. And I've been working with them for 5 years since I've been in Maui. So cool. So cool to be able to help someone for 5 years. You really see the transformation of someone. And it's a way of practice. Now, I want to go into this year. This year, I moved my practice and really made it a family practice, getting out of sharing a space with a chiropractor. I'm going to tell you something that it's something that it's not to put anyone down for what they learn in school for chiropractic or whatever profession, but chiropractic can sometimes over hurt someone than help them, especially if they have a lot of trauma already within their body. So my practice that I had before, it was actually not running efficiently of what my overall energy and need was for my client. So that's why I also was important for me to move to better grow. And so this year, got our own family practice. I'm going to go back, and we opened up in Central Maui, a beautiful space. And it's called our safe haven, basically. So now when you walk in, right away, you're going to get that really safe environment. And when my clients come and see me, especially for their initial consultation, we talk over the intake form, and we'll go over what they're coming in for. And a lot of my clients that come in have trauma, emotionally, physically, psychologically, all types of trauma. So this past year and a half, I really went more in depth of course, working with medical massage. That's really big thing. That's what I did in car accidents, and really more on the intuitive side of things. But I also went more into the holistic approach of craniosacral therapy. Craniosacral therapy is a phenomenal approach. It's a very subtle approach. It's right based on the top of the C1 of your cranium skull, and it's just very it's approaching the cranial but also the sacrum at the same time through working with the nerve receptors that are going all through the body. Okay, and then I also work on the feet too. Right away, I actually started with the feet first. That's something I learned in working and checking the gait of someone. But when I work on the cranial, this is going to start a comforting for the client. And also what cranial works directly with, this is important, it works at 4 major systems of the body: cerebral spinal fluid system, the lymphatic system, the parasympathetic system, and the central nervous system. When one of these systems aren't working properly, it could cause a malfunction. Again, it can cause a malfunction within that person, and they don't even they might actually get it diagnosed with something else from a doctor. It could be something like sciatica could be stuck in their leg, but it actually could be something in the neck that they just did not get addressed. Because a lot of times when massage therapy, this is just generalized massage therapy, a lot of massage therapists go face down and face up and kind of just like a generalized work, and they probably dig in too deep in some point that is in the hip, and then that causes a nerve impingement in the neck. And unfortunately, just it's a cycle. So what my job is to come in with my clients, have them fully clothed with
Got
light
it.
clothing and laying on their back and working with them. They're part of the agenda. That's a huge thing about my practice, and making sure that they know that they can communicate to me if anything is too much, or if there's anything that they need to communicate to me, they need they need to know that that's okay. I
Got it.
communicate very little bit, and the thing about it is that when my clients are on the table, and once we just get into like 5 minutes of just the cranial aspect of the work, they're going to be in a parasympathetic state, which is amazing. And
Got it.
now, one thing that's really important is the cerebral spinal fluid system. I was talking about, that's one of the 4 major systems. That has a fluid that comes from our cranial. It's actually it's in our cranial, and it goes all the way down into the spinal cord, into the L5. And if that fluid is not properly running, that will cause a lot of problems within the lymphatic system. You heard of lymphatic massage. Lymphatic massage is very generalized, I believe. And
Okay.
the
Got
reason
it.
why I wanted to say something about the cerebral spinal fluid system is that when we're first a baby, even, our fluid starts in our cranial, and then when we're a kid, if we go through different trauma, we go through injury, teenager, we go through different other life events that happen, that cerebral spinal fluid will start to slow down. And so that whole fluid is what I start to restore with it just in the first session. Now, when that fluid starts to restore, I can start going a little bit deeper in some of the areas of the body that have had trigger points or adhesions. But it's going to be in a very progression way. So, for example, if my client comes in 55 years old, they've had multiple like incidents of like sciatica, they've had feet problems, they had neck stuff going on in their life. They just really didn't take care of themselves with stretching, because stretching is a huge thing too. But properly stretching, then they're going to have to start with the most subtle and softer approach to really get the great benefits. Because
Yeah.
one thing about my work is that when my clients come in, they never experienced this type of approach. They're always saying that they're saying, "Oh, it's always been so much deeper, and I thought that if it's deeper, it's going to actually be better." I said, "No, your body actually needs to post heal itself, and you give from the time you leave." So when my clients walk in, I say, I can tell their demeanor of if they're stressed or these things. So I don't actually ask that, but they'll tell me, "Oh, I'm in pain," and I'll do some assessment stuff. I'll do a little bit more of a physical therapy type of assessment, and then go into a holistic approach. They love that because it's like the
Just
common.
one,
Yeah,
like just one thing, like, yeah. No,
it's
no,
the
go on.
combination. So, so but here's the thing: when my client comes in, I'll ask them. Well, when they leave, I'll ask them if they're feeling better. But some of them will want to stay around because they're like transforming. It's a transformation, which is great.
No, that makes sense, right? So,
Yeah.
the only sort of thing that I obviously wanted to, like, since we want to also go about to the next question. So, like, obviously, you explain the process in quite in detail, which will be really helpful. So, like the reason that you basically started this was because you understood the impacts, because even your mother was somewhere aligned with this, and then you saw the benefits that people were able to get, right? So that's basically the uh, the biggest sort of reason for you to jump into this.
Yes. Yes. I found out my mom, she was a massage therapist, and back in her younger like adult years, she wasn't licensed because this was like a long time ago, and but she used to work on people, and I found that out actually. She told me she didn't. It's interesting. She didn't tell me that until probably after I was in my internship or when I was in massage school. But she was really amazed on how much I learned from the time I got in
That's
massage
nice.
school to out to now. Because but yeah, my mom gave me a lot of that whole genuine care of helping someone, and being there. And something that I do in my practice too is that when my clients leave, they feel really good, and they should feel that same peacefulness that whole evening. The next day, 24 hours or 48 hours, just depending on what the severity of is, I'll do a follow-up call, and that's part of the appointment. And then
Got
during
it.
that follow-up call we can talk about how they slept. If their sleep got improved. That's one thing that I always ask is if how is their sleep at night. And so if their sleep has improved, that means that the we're starting to heal, and then we can
Makes
talk.
sense.
And then something I talk about the client is if they came in for just feeling more stabilized and just more overall together, just mind and body,
Yeah. No, makes
then
sense.
we can also go into more of the depth of now we're
Yeah.
going to start working on the nerves.
Yeah.
And we're going to start working on the nerves with neuromuscular therapy. That's a big thing that I do, and myofascial release, and a little bit of cold and heat together. I use that in my practice. That's something I learned as well. And yeah, there's a lot of different things that cold can
Yeah.
help with, actually. Um,
Got it. So now,
yeah.
like, obviously, we talked about the practice, and we talked about what in detail in terms of how your process is and what are the biggest sort of things that you do. Can you also talk
Yeah.
about some of the, let's say, biggest sort of challenges that you would have faced starting this business? Again,
Oh
right,
yeah.
like just to set up the context, like it will be great if we can have a bit of a summary of the answers, because we have a lot to go through and we have the next 10-15 minutes to cover all of them.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure. So yeah, like what are the biggest sort of challenges that you would have
So the
faced when you
biggest
started?
challenges, I would say, are unfortunately August 8th of 2023. We had a devastating event here of the Lahaina fires. That has been a detrimental to the economy in our whole Maui community, and has actually just hurt businesses, small businesses mostly. And probably the biggest challenge is having to help someone with what I do and my quality, but they can't afford it. And I understand that, that's probably a bigger challenge. But I also can't do what I'm doing and I have to make a living. So that's really a hard thing. Also another thing was a big challenge is that I strategically changed my whole niche, my whole practice this year directly to chronic pain. That was a great challenge. And but it also really was helpful because my environment, my space that I work with helps with it. It's quiet, it's relaxing. And that a big thing about as well I was going to say is that intentional is or having good intentions when you come into to the appointment and then leaving with the same intentions, that's going to make a big difference for both the practitioner and the client. So the challenge going from, I guess, from basically what I'm saying is that having
Changing the practice or
people
like
get, yeah, that was a challenge. Having people to get over the fear though of the trauma that has occurred from the fires, and just, you know, trying a different approach, because I have worked with a few people, and actually have a few clients that or a client of mine I've been working with for a while now that had unfortunately was part of in the fires, and he's been coming to me, and it's been such a great thing for him. Like, not only just physically, I've been helping him with things and like nerve stuff that's been happening, and he didn't even realize, but just the overall reset that he needs for his next like week or next 2 weeks. Like, it's just a great thing. So
got it.
yeah,
Okay.
because yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I would say those are probably the two biggest challenges. And
Makes sense, right? Like, yeah, I can
just
understand all of this.
going on my own, in my own space. That was, anytime you go in your own space, that's always going to be something new. Um, I never really worked. I've always worked with other people around, and so in my own space, it's just me, and I'm doing everything. So that's probably the biggest challenge. I mean, all like admin work and all this other stuff that I need to do. Um, my favorite thing is to actually be the practitioner, like one-on-one with my clients. But obviously, there's other things that I have to do. So
Yeah.
that's a challenge, but it's a responsibility, and it's actually gave me a really, I think, really good for me to been doing for helping me professionally, but also personally. Just to connect with people. That's what I love about BNI, is just the connection, and you're connecting with these other individuals, and
Makes
then
sense.
I also just connect with other people too, like that I met before BNI, and I just say, hey, how are you doing on email, and just the same thing, have one-to-ones,
Yeah.
just just without the BNI aspect. So I
Since
think,
you talked about the business as well, right? Like, obviously you talked about the NI and everything. So, like, when it comes to business, what are the different channels that have been helping you bring in new business?
sorry, what was the question?
So, I was saying, like, there are different channels, right, that are basically supporting to bring in business for you. What are those channels? So that anyone that's starting their own business can understand
Oh
the
yeah.
channels that they need to focus on.
So first of all, do all your legal things that you need to do for the state and IRS. All that stuff is really important. Knowing your EIN number, knowing all your different things that are really important for that. Make sure you know what your purpose is to do what you're doing, because
No, I was asking a completely different product. Now, like what I was asking was, like, let's say Ben I would be giving you some sort of a business, right? And then there can be other channels as well that are doing that. What are those channels that are helping you bring business?
what is BNI doing to help me bring business?
No, not just BNI, but what are all the channels? Like, what are the areas from where you get business? Like, are you
Okay,
running
so
ads, or any of that?
so the way I'm getting business is uh my clients that have been with me since day one. They are awesome. They're my regulars. Um, I've had them refer a few people directly, which is great. And then also working with some other collaborate or some other like collaboration of other health and wellness communities out here, and just having those connections, and just running little specials and stuff here and there. I do some Instagram reels and some social media stuff, but not too much. It's really mostly word of mouth and being an entrepreneur, going up to my offices that are my neighbor offices right next to my space, and just saying, hey, I'm over here, I want to introduce myself, very organic. And that's something you got to do. You don't,
Got it.
even if you're uncomfortable, just do it, because you never know. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we are almost towards the end of the podcast, and the last thing that I have is what we do is we basically get a question or ask questions from you, which we should ask the next guest. So, do you want to share that question with us?
That I could that a question that I
We
could
should ask the next guest. Yeah,
that you could ask the next guest
yeah,
about just
anything about anything.
oh, okay.
Obviously about the business, but yeah, like specifically about the business, but anything on the business.
What? Let's see. Maybe you can ask. What is what is the transitioning of where your business has been? I guess, like when you, or if they're just starting, or what transitioning do you have, or what's your goal or your vision? I guess in the next 4 years or 5 years, that'd be a good thing too.
Yeah,
Because I
that
have,
is a good question.
yeah, like um, I think, yeah, vision would be great.
What's your vision for the next 5 years?
Yeah, good. So my vision is this year has been really important. Networking, just meeting other people out there with in the same profession and even different professions. Um, but I really love. I have a little bit of a group we just started. It's actually awesome. It's called the Wellness Meet Coagulation Group. We just started last month, and yesterday was our second meet. And it's practitioners from acupuncture, or not, chiropractor actually, to nutritionist, to a postural therapy alignment person, to someone who does like yoga and fitness, and we all come together. My vision is to grow the practice and have like a wellness center where other wellness practitioners can come in and like be a part of that person. Because here's something that I didn't get to mention, is that just like seasons that we have in the year, there's different seasons that people are going to be in from where their wellness journey is at. And something that I didn't get to mention, but I've had clients that came in with chronic pain, and I got them back into doing running, or I got them back into doing sports, or got them back to doing Pilates, or and very blessed. It took time and their progression and their commitment, and now they're part of the practice is my work. But then they're able to do their sport, and what they're doing their sport, maybe they need someone that can help them with nutrition, because I know some about nutrition, but I'm not a nutritionist, and then, or maybe they need to see someone that does more of chiropractic, but like soft, subtle work, and here and there, that'd be, that can work really well
Sure.
together with me,
Yeah.
So,
And so basically,
there's,
like having all the people together in a pool so that you can basically help anyone with everything, sort of a
yeah,
thing at the end of the day. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a cool vision.
there's seasons in life, and there's seasons in our wellness journey. And
That's a
that's,
that's a good one.
that's okay. Um, and
No,
the
that's a
thing
good one,
about,
right? Because at the end of the day, like people are struggling with a lot of things, and like at times they have to go to multiple different people to solve for
yeah,
that. But if there is one sort of a place where they can get everything, that always helps, and then like sort of they can sort of rely upon someone to do everything. Yeah, that's a cool
yes,
one.
yeah,
But Daniel, like thanks a lot for doing this. Thanks a lot for getting in that
yeah.
time. This was one of the
I'm
longest
glad I
sessions
could,
that you've done. So
yeah,
thanks a lot for sharing all those insights as well as sharing the detailed information about the business and how you do it. I
yeah.
definitely think anyone that will be going through this will get a lot of value. So thanks a lot for that.
Okay. Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah, and then thank you for whoever is listening, for listening in. And if I could, help you see a different way of going about a massage therapy, then that would be great, because some